Welcome to Amiga Ireland. The Amiga Ireland event in 2019 is going to have some really new and interesting workshops, which include 3D modelling with Lightwave, as well as an Amiberry workshop. The presenters come from one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited, Greece. Welcome to the podcast, Maudib and MiDWaN.
Hello.
Hello.
You guys are amazing. You're absolute model Amigans. You've booked your tickets and offered to do workshops. Like, I can't praise you high enough. How did you hear about the event?
Well, actually, Maudib told me about the event, and I just jumped right in and said, we have to go there, definitely.
Good for you.
And I was actually listening the podcast since the beginning, so when I heard about the Ireland event in 2017 and that I missed it, actually it was the 2018. So
yeah. Okay, so Maudib, was I dealing with you at one stage on Amiga Hellas? Because I did log in there at one stage looking for a translator to translate the Eddie Carroll interview. That wasn't you by any chance, was it?
No.
I remember that post actually, and I think I wrote something about it.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really recall what I answered right now, but I remember that post, and as I am also the administrator for the Greek division of the Amiga Translators Organization. So we do translations, or we did a lot back in the day. We don't do that many these days. But we have done, for example, the Amiga OS translations have gone through us, both for 3.9 and 4.0 and 4.1.
Nice.
Very good.
Yep. Nice, really nice. Guys, so how did you get into Amiga in general? How did it start for you?
Okay. You want to go first?
No, you first.
Okay, me first. I don't
care. On the floor.
Well, for me, it was... I'll keep the long story short as much as I can, but I wanted to get into computers from the first time I laid eyes on one, and that first one I laid eyes on was an Amstrad, actually. So I wanted to get an Amstrad, obviously. They were more popular in Greece than the Commodore 64s back in the day. And by the time I got the money together and everything else, you had a parent to sponsor you for these things back when you were less than a teenager. I got the chance to actually go there and visited a cousin of mine. Big mistake. That cousin of mine had an Amiga 500. It changed my life. So from that moment on, all I wanted was an Amiga 500. I forgot about everything else. No Amstrad, no anything else. So it took me some time to actually get one. After that, I had to go through a lot of effort, but I did get one, and that was the beginning of my journey. I stuck with it ever since.
And I actually remember seeing the Amstrads in the shop windows in Athens in the 90s, as well as some of the people's houses. So what was it like jumping from the Amstrad to the Amiga for you?
Well, it was a completely different world. Imagine having the 8-bit Amstrad graphics and the sound, the synth sound that it had, and playing some games on those, which were never my own, so I always had to visit some friend to do that. And then all of a sudden, being blasted by Soundtracker playing Smooth Criminal at the time, and Falcon and Test Drive 2, the Duel, and the things like that. And it was like, this is unbelievable. This is from a different planet.
Yeah.
It was similar for me as well.
How about you, Maudib? What was your first experience? Please tell us.
Hello and thank you. One of my first experiences with home computers was, it was quite similar. However, I got to know Amstrads and Spectrums at a computer shop near our shop in my hometown, and I used to hang out there, playing Karnov or Bruce Lee. But my first computer was an Amiga 500. After I had seen it at one of my cousin's place, playing South of the Beast 2, where I was taken apart. I mean, it was an amazing experience.
I'm sure your doctor would say so as well.
Yeah, he does. I don't know. He's still tying my hands. That I want to type. Why?
Oh dear.
Anyway, yeah, that was it. It was quite an amazing first first encounter, and right after that I convinced somehow my mother to get my, actually it was an Amiga 500, but there was it was one of the later revisions where some memory extensions were not compatible. I don't know if you guys remember before the 500 plus. So
yeah, they were actually using 500 plus motherboards for the later 500s, so it caused a few problems.
It was one of them.
Yeah,
but actually
on the plus side, you could upgrade it to a 500 plus by swapping some chips.
But anyway, I later sold this, and I kind of found a port with my 1200, which I have it right here beside me, and that's my computer up today.
Very good. And did you get into the 3D modeling straight away on that, or was it all games from the start, or at what stage did you get into the 3D modeling? It was kind of parallel, because I really loved motion and making things move. I remember when we had at school some, when we used to take the books where we used to draw at the edges of the book and make a sequence and then play it back just by so it was I remember the most complex thing I did on that was like two cars crashing with each other and then an ambulance coming and taking the injured and going away, all that with a pencil, That's awesome.
Thanks. So after that after actually buying my 500, I get to know Real 3D. I came across actually. I came across it, half of the buttons I still don't know what they do. It was the user interface is not that.
It's over time. Yeah,
it was Real 3D. Yeah.
I think that was because I had a version of that a while ago as well. It was on one of the cover discs or something like that at the time on a magazine. So maybe it was around then.
Yeah, I think it was 1.3 with a famous,
the horrible blue interface.
Yes, exactly.
And Maudib, do you get time to do much modeling these days on the computer?
Not as much as I would like, I mean, actually, modeling, animating, and lighting, and all these things. Mostly everything else other than modeling, because 3D has many aspects. So most of it is like animating, scripting, like doing storyboards and then deciding what to do, and then getting and intercepting each model, and it's not that much time nowadays. Actually, we're all at our 40s, or most of us, but lots of
I'm still clinging on to my 30s. yeah, this all grown-up world.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question as well, Maudib? When did you start going into Lightwave? Was it right away after Real 3D, or did it take some time?
It was kind of not coincidence, but I was looking up for other 3D packages as well. So I was like, after Real 3D, I think there was one more, but I remember vaguely. But after that, it was like 3.5, Lightwave 3.5 that I came across by a friend. It was suggested by a friend. So when I saw the lens flares, all these, that button, wow! It can do the light distorting, all these things, the light distortions, and it was like, oh, that's worth taking a look. However, in the beginning, I thought it was not that good of a program because I couldn't find the CSG models that Real 3D had. If you guys remember, there was like there were some spheres that it could model real spheres, no matter how much you zoomed in it.
Yeah, that was a key selling point of Real 3D, wasn't it? That it had the real 3D shapes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mathematical spheres.
Yes, it described it as the CSG, although CSG is something else, like construction solid geometry or something.
Awesome.
Yeah, and one other thing that Lightwave lacked and lacks, I mean, up to the latest Amiga version versus Real 3D, it doesn't have it doesn't have reflections from like metals, like caustics. While some primitive form of caustics was included in Real 3D 1.3 or 1.4, I think, or even 3, but I haven't really investigated it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, MiDWaN, I've got a question for you. Amiberry is more than just Amiga; it's a full Linux stack too. How did such an ambitious project begin?
Oh, okay. Well, it is actually the emulator.
Yeah,
Correct
it is.
you that
That's right.
slightly.
But I think it's very, very, very sophisticated, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a bit confusing because of the history behind it. The whole thing started after I took a look at Amibian, which Gunnar Christiansson created. It was maybe 2 years ago or something when I first saw it, and I thought, "Oh, this is a great idea." I always liked the Raspberry Pi as a platform, and I always thought we should have that running or becoming an Amiga if we could. But I never really did anything about it, So when I first saw Amibian, which was a very lightweight distro with an Amiga emulator included, and it put it directly into the emulator. So, okay, this is very close to what I wanted to do. And I started looking into that, and I started playing with that, and I said, okay, it needs a bit of fixes here. This should have been better, and I can't upgrade the system because everything breaks.
A bit of tinkering.
Yeah, and then I contacted Gunnar and we started exchanging a few ideas. Well, eventually I ended up building my own little tool to replicate what Amibian was doing to the system, and that was called Amiberry version 1. Unfortunately, because that's the source of all this confusion eventually. And I released that as a sort of a tool that everybody could use and to transfer or change an existing system to a very lightweight system that just boots directly into your Amiga emulator. And after that, I thought, okay, what we really need is not just another version of Amibian as it is, not another distro. I just wanted to improve Amibian, and I did that. But we really need help in the emulator part because it felt like it was really buggy and crappy and it didn't emulate things very well. And I thought it could have been improved very much. So I started focusing onto that, and I kept the Amiberry version 1 around it's an open source project, so anybody can access it on GitHub. And I started focusing on doing something which I called version 2, which was basically improving the emulator. And at first I had an idea of, okay, I need a distro to run this on. And at that time I thought DietPi was a great idea, and still is, because it is very lightweight, but it's also supported by a very active community, and it has frequent updates and everything else, and a great update system. So I thought I need to focus on the emulator, and I need a distro that is maintained by somebody else, so I don't have to worry about it. So I contacted Dan at Daniel Knight, who's the author of DietPi, who's also an ex-Amiga fan, by the way. And he was ecstatic about the idea of building taking my previous work with Amiberry version 1 and basically the work I made to make the distro be super lightweight, do not display anything on boot up, just boot it directly into the emulator and integrate that into DietPi as an option. So we did that, and we released the first version, which was DietPi underneath with Amiberry, which was the emulator running on top of that. And to make it easy for users to install that, we just packaged that up as an image and released it and uploaded it. After that, I thought, of course, that, okay, my work is really the emulator nowadays, not the distro, because I don't really maintain that. And it doesn't make sense to limit that and run it only in one distro. So it has to be open and run everywhere. So, of course, the emulator is designed so that it can run on any distro that you have, as long as it's based on Raspbian, which is the standard Raspberry Pi Foundation distro. So since then, of course, we have been exchanging ideas with both with Gunnar and other people. And it's included now in RetroPie, it's included in Amibian, it's included in DietPi, and you can also get it standalone if you want on a standard Raspbian installation. So you have options, and you can run the emulator anywhere you want, as long as you follow the minimum requirements wiki article. or you can compile it from source if you want. And interestingly, it has progressed over time, and it has expanded to even more platforms, even platforms that I don't really own and I cannot test myself, and other people have volunteered to do that. So we have ported it to, or they have ported it to Orange Pi, for example, including a few others, which I don't remember right now.
Really, really nice. And sounds very promising as well.
It is very interesting to work on it. It's super time consuming because you have to learn the inside out of the emulator. It's quite a complex project, but it's also very rewarding when you see people actually using it and being happy with it, and that's what drives me forward.
And so, what stage is the project at now? Are you at the? Do you have a lot more work to do on it, or a lot more planned work?
There's always more work. Well, we are at a pretty good stage because I don't really have any active, open, critical bugs at the moment that I know of. There are none. All of those have been closed. There are some annoying things, yes. There are things that are there as enhancements, things to work on to improve on in the future, but there are no bugs, whereas we had bugs like that from the previous versions. We have fixed all of those as much as I know, which is a great feeling, and that means we can now focus on improving things instead of just bug fixing. We have just recently released a new stable version that included a new feature, which was the WHDLoad booter. So you can boot into WHDLoad installable games directly from the emulator, for example, similar as you would with an ADF image. So it's very, very easy to do with self-contained config for each game and everything else. And we're planning to improve more stuff in the future. We have a few more ideas to make it even better, of course, and it all takes time. We want to improve emulation as well, as much as the hardware allows. The Raspberry Pi, unfortunately, is a rather limited platform, so we can't do a full merge from WinUI, which would include everything, because it will run super slow, like FSUI does at the moment, unfortunately. So we're trying to pick only the actual things that we can implement without affecting performance too much, which is so that's why the cycle exact emulation hasn't been added yet. We tried it, we saw that it was a bit too slow. We couldn't hit 50 frames per second on the Raspberry Pi 3, for example. So we left it for later. We don't want to release something that is not really working perfectly, which we're very careful about. We don't want to create new bugs on our own.
That's fair enough.
Great. Well, it's clear that you're very driven and dedicated to it, so that's great for all of us consumers. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Absolutely.
Is this going to be both of your first times coming to Ireland?
Yeah.
It will be for me, yes.
Yeah, me too.
Both of you. Okay. So what preconceptions do you have, if any?
I don't really have any. I try not to. When I'm visiting a place, I will look up, history, local things, traits, anything special I need to know from a tourist perspective. Try to gain a bit of an understanding of what is this place I'm going to, which I will do for Ireland as well. I haven't done much of that yet because I never visited before.
Yeah.
But I promise to do it before I come.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah, my preconceptions are like drinking. I've heard that you guys drink a lot.
That's a shocking, terrible rumor.
Okay, that's very nice because I don't drink at all.
Right.
I mean, in my everyday, I'm drunk as I am, so I don't need any more drink.
Fair enough. You'll fit right in.
Yeah.
And there's something about rainbows and gold, right?
Yeah.
That's all true. All true.
You do have that stuff, like. Right?
Yeah, leprechauns and rainbows. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I heard that they drains a lot down there. Does it?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, to be fair.
It does. I mean, it rains a lot in the evenings when you get off work. It's raining all the time, but during the day, actually, there's a lot of clear spells as well. So it's one of those, you kind of need to have swimming shorts and an umbrella with you everywhere you go.
Yeah,
almost exactly like here.
Yeah. Only 20 degrees colder. Oh, sorry, you're in Sweden. Sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
No, I meant Sweden.
Yeah, I get that now. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I think some other things I've heard about your hospitality is amazing. You guys are very warm.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can say that, like in Sweden, people are more, more inside their own shells, But in Ireland, I've heard about that. You guys are very hospitable.
Oh yeah, you go to a pub, buy a drink, you're everyone's friend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy
Looking
it.
forward to it.
Yeah, so are we.
To meet you guys.
Can I ask also how much time will we have for the workshop? Would it be, can we have a whole day there, just sitting when everybody can join us, or is it going to be time boxed?
It can probably be both. What we'll do is there'll be a time box session where everyone needs to be there to pay attention to what you're doing, and then afterwards, whoever wants to continue can continue for the day, and you can be floating around if you want to help answer questions and stuff.
Okay, great.
It's 2 days, but you'd be surprised how quickly it goes and how difficult it could be to fit everything in. So, yeah, but it's amazing now that already, so early on, we can tell people these two things are going to be happening. So it's fantastic.
Great.
We're still cleaning up after the last event, but we can start promoting the next one.
Whoa.
Can I ask you guys, do you also have like competitions, demo, graphics, music competitions, like other demo parties like old school? Or
We so last year, the last one was our third event, and we decided to have a competition of some kind. So what we did is we had a Commodore creative competition, and we just encouraged people to enter anything: a demo, a mod, knit a jumper, bake a cake, anything. And I think the photos of those are further down the blog. Maybe I can put those links in the show notes for this and send them on to you as well. But so next year we'll do something along the same lines as well.
Awesome. As long as it's not a drinking competition, I think we can do something.
That's dangerous.
We're screwed.
That's probably the only competition we didn't have actually, because we had sensible soccer competitions, stunt
Great.
car racer. Yeah.
Great.
Maudib, what do you have in mind for the workshop in January then?
Good question. First of all, I would like to see what is the understanding in 3D for all the people that are interested and participating there, and we can actually go on from there. And at the same time, we'll be having with me. I will having prepared some milestone project, milestones in a project, so that we would be able to start from modeling, animating, lighting, exporting, and how we can actually play it back on our Amigas, because that's the whole point actually. We are actually bragging about that, because every time we go to demo parties, we either carry our Amigas or our emulated ones, and we play it back through our Amigas, all the demos and animations.
Nice.
So yeah, that will be the thing. We will also try to model some real life objects that we may find there, or some interesting things that will be more complex, that will need some complex modeling or complex rigging. And also I'm actually preparing a submission for the Aminet that will go into more realistic lighting, because as you guys know, Lightwave 5.0 has only 3 lights. A distant one, like coming from a sun or the moon, and point light and a spotlight. However, the distant light does not do the emulation like when you see shadows coming from a distant object as compared to a close object. The distant object shadows, they are more diffused and less sharp. So this is something that we'll be also working on, though, to increase our, to achieve a more realistic look in shadows, because it really adds a lot to a scene.
Is that going to be in a form of a plugin?
No. It will. No. Actually, it will be tutorial, as well as actually we are using a plugin. I'm using a light swarm plugin, which can also be used like for doing some space scenes with lots of suns around,
However, this time I'm using it for making for translating an object's points into lights and actually giving it a null point and a target.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, it is doable even without adding anything extra to Lightwave then?
No, it is doable, yes.
Okay.
Perfectly doable, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So is there much of a scene, much of a 3D scene in the Amiga community these days?
You're referring to the animation, right? Not the real-time 3D scene.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, yeah, not the demo rendering or anything like that.
As far as ray tracing goes, there's a live. I don't know. There are some people that are very, very engaged in that. There's a guy called MiDWaN in EAB that is doing a remarkable job gathering tutorials, plugins, and everything that has been published on the for the Amiga and Lightwave. In the Amiga Ray Tracing Society, the Facebook group that we had started with Dimitris like 4 years ago, there are people that are publishing their own works since they had an Amiga, or tutorials, or ways to do stuff, or asking information about packages that they're on the look for. They're looking for, and. However, there is actually, I don't know, it's not real time. So as far as demos go, and there's not much to be, it's not the same. You don't get the same awe as you get when you the same admiration as you see something like real time. Like a Rift or a Starstruck or all of these things.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand, but are there any sort of competitions, or I know you mentioned a couple of groups, but are there any kind of competitions that are run?
No, actually, we are usually pushed to the wild compos.
Okay.
where everything goes, you can. Yeah, and we have competitors like people that that were using a calculator to make music, or or using Spectrum to do crazy things, and it's been amazing, However, it would be a very nice thing, to add an animation, to add 3D animation competitions, Amiga made on the demo parties, because there are lots of people that were doing that. I myself have been also in the 1999. I was using the Amiga to do some professional work that made the way to the Greek TV. So there are a lot of people that have good memories from the Amiga, and everywhere I mention what I'm doing, they're like, "Wow, Amiga, man, that's good. That's cool. Nice piece of machine."
Wow, you got on Greek TV, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I had actually, and there was a butterfly I had done, and I had animated, and some sea waves.
Very good.
So MiDWaN, what are you planning for January, or are you still thinking it out?
Well, we'll make a plan, but the rough idea is that I would like to demonstrate how you set up various distros with Amiberry, so you can have your system depending on how you like it. The most common usage right now is RetroPie, because it has multiple emulators and it's also the easiest one to get started with. You can just add all your ROMs or your games in there, and you will get a nice graphical user interface with a menu. You can just click on the game you want, or demo, or whatever, and you will just start up. But I will also demonstrate if you wanted to, let's say, Amidian running that, or if you wanted to do it with another. So we can take a few distros and see how it works with each one, and then you can take your pick, whatever you like more, and maybe also demonstrate a few things on how you configure things. Although we have tried to make it as simple as possible, so you don't really have to tweak with it too much, especially if you use RetroPie. We have even extra care for that. But sometimes it's good to know the internals also and say, okay, this doesn't really work for me. What can I do? We can change this, you can change that, you can change that. And then I was thinking it would be kind of awesome if we combined what Amiberry does with what Maudib will be doing, and then run Lightwave on it, And perhaps if I can bring a few Raspberry Pis with me and set up a little render farm there and have them rendering the frames out of your own work. I mean, Maudib, what do you think?
Yeah, we actually did
awesome.
that on GERP 2018.
Yep, that was an awesome story.
You
want to tell the story or should I?
You do it. Also, I have to point out that we didn't use real Amiga. Unfortunately, there I couldn't bring my own, but we will do it. It's a promise.
Amazing.
This
So
winter.
the story is that Maudib had prepared this 3D animation. It was about to go in a compo when we were at GERP just a few months ago. But he had, I don't know, about 500, 600 frames in total of that animation.
500, yeah.
500 frames, and he hadn't rendered all of them, and time was running out, and his laptop wasn't fast enough to render the frames any faster. So
Actually, wasn't going to show it at all, but it just came up. You know, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I have this thing. You know, let's see. Can I make it? But then you came and said,
yeah, there was a deadline for something like 8 o'clock that day,
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the afternoon. So we had to you had to make it and give it by 8 o'clock, or it didn't enter the compo. And since he started rendering the frames as fast as he could, we calculated how much time each frame took and said, oh no, we're never going to make it. But luckily, I had 3 Raspberry Pis with me, or 2, I think, and a laptop. So let's fire up Amiberry on these, hook them up, have them render frames in parallel with your machine, and see how many we can do. We did that, and eventually we just made the deadline by something like 10 minutes.
yeah, it was
Wow.
a quarter of an hour. Yeah.
Which was kind of awesome, because for me personally, it was also a test to test out the new JIT FPU code that I just added there, which made it a bit faster than before, and it was actually usable in Lightwave. Before it was too slow to be usable, but now we had a real life scenario there. Okay, let's see how fast can you render frames in Lightwave.
Wow.
This is it. And it was really an awesome time, because it was a classic demo moment there. Oh, can I make the deadline? Okay, let's do whatever we can. Let's improvise. Let's hook up some more machines there. Let's have them render the same frames. You render frames 300 to 350. You do the other 50 frames. You do the other 100 frames, and eventually put them all together, create an animation, put some sound in. Really, just the last few minutes. And not just did we make it, but it actually won first prize for that
That's
combo.
a great
Wow.
story.
Nice, congratulations.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have you guys seen it? This is the Lego TIE Fighter.
I have. And
I
it is
think I have
fantastic.
it. I have seen it as well.
It
It's
is,
really
yes.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have to. Yeah. When was this?
2008, yeah, wasn't it? 18. Oh,
No, 18.
No,
This
yeah,
year,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
only
the
recent.
one.
Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
It was just a few months ago.
Yeah, the 3rd of February.
Ah, okay. No, I haven't seen that yet. Okay, so I'm going to go and look that up straight after we talk.
I do. It's fantastic.
Okay. Actually, now that Dimitris mentioned it, now we all have the tools to do what Ron Thornton's team was doing on Babylon 5 with A2000s. You know, you can have if this thing works, if this thing works out, you can have an Amiga controlling your render farm, and you will be able to making films, small, long, long. I don't know, whatever, but you will be able to have to distribute all this rendering power that we were lacking all this year.
nice.
Yeah.
Did you just unveil my next project?
Sorry.
We had this idea that remember back in the day we could only read about it in magazines where you had the Raptor render machines and you had an Amiga, you could connect it and it will send the frames to the Raptor, which had I don't know how many CPUs there were in cores there were CPUs. It would render things amazingly fast, not real time of course, but amazingly fast for the time. When I remember my Amiga 500 took a week to render a single frame in 16 colors, low resolution in real 3D. Well, you can imagine that if it took hours for a frame, then it was, that's super fast. So we of course, it was out of reach for any mortal man back then. But today we think, we actually have the tools and the CPU power and the platform and everything and the knowledge to even build our own tools for this, and we can make that happen. And so we started it as a test, and we did a little there's a tool as part of Lightwave which is called ScreamerNet, and its job was to distribute frames to slave nodes. You have one master node, which is an Amiga, which has all the frames and all the scenes, and it sends off the frame or the jobs to the slaves, and it tells you, okay, you render that frame, you render that frame, you render that frame. When they are done, they come back and say, I'm done. And they, okay, you put the file there, you put the file there, and eventually you distribute all the load to multiple nodes, and it can go up to, I don't know, 999 nodes or 99 nodes, I'm not sure, but plenty. So we thought we're going to do that with Raspberry Pis, because why not? I'm doing AmiBerry on them. Or not only, of course, any Amiga emulator can do it, but the difficult part in this logic was that ScreamerNet was designed to work on a local network. It was designed to work on a file share, to be more specific. Mm-hmm. In today's world, we have the internet. Back then, it wasn't really an option. But in today's world, we want this thing to work distributed. You want it to work across the internet. So the way to do that was I was building a bridge or a small little tool, basically, that would interface on one side with ScreamerNet and on the other side over the internet with another node or with another instance of my tool, basically, so they can communicate, and ScreamerNet can think that it's still on a LAN. All of those computers are still on a LAN, but in fact, they can be distributed all across the world. Mm-hmm. And therefore, you can just have one Amiga sitting somewhere, or an emulated one or a real one, doesn't matter, and other slave Amigas spread around the world for world domination and rendering rows, all of them rendering frames for your pleasure. Mm-hmm. Which eventually might make an interesting project, because you can easily make large projects now, and they are doable in a short time frame, not anymore. They don't need months of work to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Right, guys, I've got a different question. How do you feel about the current status of Amiga OSs, you know? Do you have a personal one, like, I don't know, for example, Amiga S 3.9 or 3.1 or 4.1 or maybe MorphOS or Aeros? Oh dear. Here we go.
That question.
Go for it.
Well, honestly, I think it's a bit of a circus nowadays. It's been going on for so long that I honestly thought this thing would have been over years ago, but it's still going on for some weird reason. In my personal opinion, I think that the whole thing should have been open sourced years ago, especially the 3 point something. And that would have been the only way to move it forward. Aros is doing a great job, but it's really lacking support. It doesn't have a lot of developers, and it's not a commercial project, so it doesn't have a lot of funding. Also, it's up to contributions and whoever has free time. If this thing was open sourced, it would have helped both the Aros project and anybody else who wants to develop the 68K version further and bug fix it and update it, instead of just waiting for a few companies to shoot it out between them with lawsuits on who controls which piece of IP. Nobody seems to know anymore. 4.1, I like the attempt, but really it feels like it's too little too late, and it's still closed source and it's still not updatable except Hyperion, and Hyperion might go bust, who never knows, and then you will just be stuck with a product that is no longer updated. If 4.1, and this is my personal opinion, but I feel it's reflected strongly by a lot of people that I've talked to, if 4.1 is to be made viable, it should be at least, if not open source, but opened up to platforms that are really cheap and accessible to anybody, like, let's say, a Raspberry Pi. Mm-hmm. I am a bit biased there, but I honestly feel that Raspberry Pi is a perfect candidate for that, because it's exactly a very cheap platform. You can buy one with very little money. A standard platform, it always has the same hardware, same GPU, same kind of memory, same kind of, you don't need to support variations of it, in other words. And it's readily available. It has a huge community with support below it. And it has enough power to run something like OS 4.1 easily, if you only port it to ARM, of course, which I know is a big task in itself. But if you want the platform to be viable, you can't be stuck on PPC platforms. They're dead. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. Okay, and Maudib?
For my part, I can't really comment on 4 and 4.1. I had, however, an early experience with Eros and Icarus. It was very nice, but it didn't have the drivers to fully support my hardware back then. So I haven't really had a look after that. So my only experience is with 3.9, and I kind of say if you update and if you add, if you do a nice selection of add-ons and tools to help you, it's really nice. However, I would really like to give a try with 4 and 401. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. There'll be a couple of 4 machines at the Ireland meeting next January, as well as
Great.
MorphOS, and I think there's an Eros workshop as well going on, so you'll see them all.
Lovely.
Great. That was a very nice opportunity.
So this is a question we ask everybody, and so what are your, for both of you, what are your favorite demos, games, and apps?
Oh, well, that is easy.
Is it? Oh, come on, man.
It is easy for me. It's easy if you know how.
You are the method.
Favorite app of all time, Directory Opus, hands down. I still use it today on my PCs. I can't live without it, honestly. I'm addicted.
Absolutely.
I really think it makes the whole experience very different. Well, if you're a power user, but yes, I happen to be one. Favorite game? Well, that might be a bit more tough because I have plenty of favorite games. So I could just pick one at random, I guess.
or name off a couple of them. That's all good.
Well, I have been playing Chaos Engine recently, so I remember that very fondly.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic game from all aspects. I mean, it's really top notch.
Absolutely.
Dyna Blaster, for another reason. Not for the graphical excellency or anything like that, but pure gameplay. Just hook up 2 more joysticks on the parallel adapter there, which we support in Amiberry. Ting, ting, ting. And then you have up to 5 players playing at the same computer, which is fantastic. You had a lot of fun with that. You can play hours and hours.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was really the touch. I mean, back in the home computers, it was mostly about the gameplay. Yes, sometimes they were crappy games that just had beautiful graphics, but there were just few of them. Mostly it was, if you wanted a good game, you had to really have good gameplay. So, of course, sensible World of Soccer. You can't not mention that. You have to.
Absolutely.
And tons of others, which I'm sure I'm just forgetting now because there are so many. Favorite demos? Oh, well, Starstruck really is one of my favorite ones because it has really a good combination of all of those. I really liked another recent one, Rise and Shine. Had an awesome soundtrack, really nice retro feeling on the graphics and all that. And then there were so many before that.
And then there were so many.
Yes. So maybe I will just shut up and have Maudib shout it out.
No, it's okay. Please continue.
No, please do.
Oh, okay, thank you. Regarding applications, okay, I'll just say the 3D ones first. Lightwave, Sparks, Scala, using to bind the animations. Actually, before Scala, image effects, and Scala, Brilliance, Deluxe Paint, Vista Pro, Imagine, although I haven't worked on it a bit. It was amazing what one can do with that. Other applications, Octamed, ProTracker, amazing softwares, amazing pieces of software. Like we say, ProTracker, Octamed. Did I miss anything else?
Photogenics,
a ton of it. Photogenics, I haven't used that much. Artifact is kind of like on my Amiga, even though I do it. I work on a 060.
However, you need an RTG graphics card really for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I haven't really had it, but I don't know. AGA is amazing for me with all the artifacts of handmade artifacts. I love this. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird.
You're like one of those people that love the VHS artifacts, aren't you?
Yeah, that too. Anyway, yeah, and Ham6 has also its uses. Guys, you can do you can fake transmissions that don't go. That are not being easily received. You do a Ham6. We do a Ham6 Artifact Edition. Anyway, games. If we divide it in genres, best RPG game, Perihelion: The Prophecy. For me, it was very atmospheric, and I always keep telling Dimitri, we should make a movie out of it, or we should make an RPG game, like board RPG game out of it. Mm. It was an amazing experience finishing it, actually.
A bit too difficult for me, I thought.
Yeah, you haven't found the touch yet.
No, sorry.
Lotus 2 especially, for racing, or James Bond 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 acrobatics games. It's not actually a platform. Or Super Frog, all Team 17 Productions, Slam Tilt. Too many. I mean, but that's all that's all I have in my mind right now. Regarding demos, old school, I really love Sequential. Nexus 7. I remember, I think it was AGA. Nexus 7, then Rift, Starstruck, the new ones, Spacebox demos. The first two, not the first two, the most popular two, like Nine Fingers and State of the Art. What else?
Your own demos.
Pardon?
Your own demos.
No, they're not demos. Come on.
Oh well.
I hate my demos because I always see, I should have done this and I should have done that. Now it's too late. Anyway, yeah.
Say a lot of artists are like that.
Yeah.
So, were you both involved in setting up Amiga Hellas, and what state is the Amiga community in Greece now at the moment? Whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, I was one of the founding members of Amiga Hellas. Basically, it was me and 4 more people. I'm the only one left, sadly. We started it out because we basically hanged around back then in IRC, like all the other Amiga guys, in Amiga Cafe back in Undernet. But due to the sorry state of the internet speed in Greece, we were always lagging, and we remember that term? We lagged. And we were always breaking up and disconnecting. So we thought, okay, let's start up our own channel somehow where all Greek guys can meet up at least, because we were becoming more and more. So we started up first Amiga Hellas as an IRC channel in the same server, which eventually we moved to a Greek server for better connection. And from there, we organized the first ever Amiga meeting in Greece, which was called Amigathering. We did it in Patra, and that's where this crazy guy Maudib showed up also, and that's how we met. Mm-hmm. He was part of the channel, we were chatting, but that's the first time we actually met up close.
Yeah, it was actually, it was 1996, February 1996 or March 1996 when we first organized or tried to organize. In my opinion, it was a failure because we did it in the basement.
Well, that was the least of it, actually. We hardly had any power, any electricity on that.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, we were like now in 16 years old back then, and was like, yeah, we'll do it, and we almost didn't do it actually. But the universe provided, and we did a very. It was a very funny event. It was also in the last week of the carnival of Patras, which is kind of famous for having fun and stuff. And I was one of the organizers for that event, and after that, other cities followed and did Amigathering 2, Amigathering 3, and now I think we count 13 events.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we've had 13 Amigatherings so far.
It's worth noting also that since then we evolved more than the IRC channel. We opened up forum, so we have a proper website, forum and all that, and the community grew even more. And then traditionally, as it happens in all Amiga communities, there was a disruption and there was a fight internally. So people split and disagreed, and they went off to do their own forums and their own versions of stuff, as usual. We also released a magazine that we had for about 13 issues until we eventually... We didn't really decide to give up on it. We just kind of stopped working on it.
We're taking our time,
I'm going to give you a word first and tell you that we are kind of working on a new issue right now.
Uh-huh.
So you have
There
an
you go.
exclusive
Nice.
news there. We have a few articles already prepared, and there are a few more to be done, but it will come.
Excellent. Cool. Looking forward to that.
Okay, so what do you guys think of the new FPGA type boards? So like the Mini Mig and the Vampire, and is that your idea of the next steps in the Amiga world?
Personally, I see them as. Sorry, you want to go first?
No, you took my part. Come on.
Oh, sorry, I'm giving it back to you. There you go.
No, actually, I have only to say that I would really like to get my hands on a Vampire for the 1200. I mean, I have another 1200 waiting here for the new Vampire, so I'm totally for it, and I dig it.
But I'm also very sympathetic towards the goal of this, because I think I know there are two camps, as in all things Amiga, I guess. There are those that are full of grief about this. Oh, this is not a pure Amiga, and then there's another camp that says, "Well, this is the best thing ever." And I'm kind of in between. I like the idea very much, because to me it looks like it's the first real hardware we're getting on our aging machines for a long time now. Nobody else has done anything. I mean, there have been promises, but nothing actually came out. And this seems to be not just coming out, but it seems to be coming out with a new version and a new upgrade and more. And because it's FPGA, you have software updates on it, which improve things a lot. So I don't have one. I have seen the 500 version being used up close, but I'm really looking forward to the V4 of the Vampire version, so I can play around with it on my Amigas as well, or the standalone one. I don't really mind which one it will be. And to me, it seems like it's the first real hardware update that can run on a real Amiga, because you can hook it up on a real Amiga and it still can access the original chips. You can still run software that uses the real chips. It doesn't mean that it's just because it's FPGA doesn't make it something completely different. It is, in a sense, what the Natami promised to be. If you remember the Natami project, it is a continuation of that in that sense. It is what it promised to do. And I would definitely like it to expand and become better, and I will support it in any way I can. I'm also very sympathetic to all the other FPGA solutions. I don't mind. I mean, the FPGA replay. I know Mike. We're in touch because he has this idea about using a Raspberry Pi CM3 module as a sort of an accelerator for a classic Amiga, if it makes it work. We'll have to see. So he reached out to me to see how much of my emulator code he can use, because mine runs on a Raspberry Pi, and he wanted to use the JIT engine, for example.
Yeah, interesting.
That would be a really cool idea to do. I don't know if he's going to explore how fast the bus can talk and if it makes sense to do it. Yeah. But all of those show that there is, first of all, there is an interest from people to do things, which is great, and we need to support that if we want things to be done, obviously. And from a hardware perspective, because software is a different thing than hardware, as you know, and hardware is well, for me, it is much more difficult to create. It's a different kind of effort. You need to actually print out boards. It's not just software that you can type out on any old computer if you have the skills and shoot it out over the internet. You need to do real hard work. It's more tangible. You have to go out, print out boards, to actually put the chips on it. That has to be done. If you want to do it on a mass production, it's not just copying a file. You actually have to do that for each and every copy.
And there's the monetary aspect of that.
So I will definitely support the Vampire effort, and I'm looking forward to when they release the V4, because that's the only one I'm going to get probably, unless they release another version after that for the 4000, which is waiting for its own upgrade. But probably the V4 is what I'm going to go for. I don't have a 500 anymore to go for the existing versions, and I have a 1200 waiting for an upgrade, which I actually got exactly for this purpose. I thought I would get a 1200 just to run the V4 on it.
So, Maudib, if people want to follow your work, are you is there anywhere where you kind of keep up to date with the odd release that you make or anything? Do you have a blog or anything that people can follow?
I have a Vimeo page. If one searches in vimeo.com about Paul Atreides 3D, I know it's not Maudib, it's Paul Atreides 3D. Otherwise, you can also look about you look for Amiga renderings in YouTube. Amiga Ray Tracing Society on Facebook also has a history of stuff I publish, as long as other artists that publish their works. And,
we can include those in the show notes so people can.
Yeah. If you guys want, of course.
Absolutely.
Of course. I'll be very, very glad to give you the links. And let me see if I haven't forgotten anything else. No, that's about it. Actually, there is a thought about buying a web page and posting tutorials, having all things there. Like text tutorials or videos or finished works from artists and from all over. The Amiga 3D scene throughout the years. But I haven't really decided with MiDWaN or anyone. We will see.
And what about you, MiDWaN? Where can people stay up to date with your works?
Regarding all my projects, they are open source, so they are on GitHub, and I have an account on GitHub with the same name, so it's easy to track me down there. We also have a Facebook page for AmiBerry, and I write frequent updates there, not just when something is resolved, but also on things we're working on, because it seems to be that most people regarding RetroPie and all the other distros also exist on Facebook these days, and they get updates from there. So those two would be the first candidates, I would say, to get me. I'm also on Twitter, so I don't really tweet that much, but if you want, you can follow me there, and I can do more tweets regarding this. I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm on Discord, obviously, as you can see. We have a Slack channel for... I have a web page called the Blitter Studio, where I post... I also host AmiBerry there, but a few other projects and a few guides that I wrote about how can you set up an environment for cross-platform compiling for the Amiga. How can you can set up VBCC, and so you can compile from Linux, Mac, or Windows and have an executable that runs on an Amiga directly. So Blitter Studio is one option, the Slack channel is another option, Discord is another option, GitHub, Twitter, Facebook, Skype, and pretty much any other platform you can think of I've been into from the early days.
I also forgot regarding Amiga Ray Tracing Society. I forgot Slack. We also have a project there that's called AmiRays. We will put it on the links.
Yeah, we'll include all those links, as many links in the show notes.
Plenty.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Okay, and this is our final question, guys. So for both of you, have you?
What is your favorite color?
Nearly there.
Wait,
Blue. Yes. Okay, so. Can you give each of you? Can you give us a favorite memory of your Amiga time over the years?
Oh,
tough one.
Can I start?
By all means.
Okay. Favorite memory. I was like 16, 17, and I had this time socket plug like on the wall, and it was I used this as an alarm, and plugged in on it was my Amiga, and the first disc of Project X. So it's every morning I used to wake up with Project X music. It was fantastic.
Brilliant.
It was amazing.
what a great memory.
If you take out all those amazing moments I've had with friends playing and doing stuff with programs, that was it. Mm-hmm. That was the best of it.
Excellent.
That's a good one.
That's amazing. Yeah.
For me, it's a bit hard to pick, but it is. On one hand, it's all those memories that I had with my brother while growing up, and playing two-player games until late in the night or early in the morning sometimes, and those are kind of unforgettable because you grow up with them. It's part of your childhood. And it's a bit also more sensitive to me because I lost my brother last year due to an accident. So those memories are even more brought up these days, and they feel even more precious to me. And on the other hand, it's also memories that I had with friends where there was one specific instant, maybe we can mention that, it's less melodramatic. There was one Super Frog came out. We were looking forward to Super Frog because the first glimpse we saw of Super Frog was on an Alien Breed disc. You remember that? There was a preview
yes,
with a special tune back then, and you was, what is this? This is going to be awesome. We will have to look forward to this. And when Super Frog came out, the first day we got it in our hands, I think it was summertime, we didn't have school anyway. But I remember we sat down with a friend of mine and his Amiga, and then we spent all night, we literally didn't sleep, taking turns just to keep going until we finished the game. We didn't sleep all night long until we finished the game. And next time, I think it was probably next time around the middle of the day when we eventually had to eat something. We managed to take a break, but we didn't want to stop. That was a great memory for me. It was really fantastic.
That's a full spectrum of emotion there, Maudib. I'm so sorry about your brother.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
actually, I have to add to MiDWaN's last description. All these like a personalization of computers nowadays that makes you connect to other people through the internet instead of having someone physically there playing on the same keyboard or with two joysticks like beside. I mean, this is something that has really been missing.
Absolutely.
Of course, you have PlayStation and all these machines, but then you miss the customization of it. When I mean, it's something that has been I've been missing. I don't know about you guys, but it was really fun to have your friend there. Oh, let me show you what I did on my Amiga, and showing them animes or games, new game, and saying, okay, that's enough. Let's play now. So it was.
Sorry, I'm going to say it was the spirit of the home computer. Nowadays we have personal computers, and we should also have consoles, but we don't have home computers.
That's a very good point.
Absolutely.
No one's around. Everyone is through the cable.
Yeah, that's why these meetups started here in Ireland. It was to get people back together again instead of using forums and stuff. As good as they are, it's nice to be face to face.
Yeah. And I actually remember last year when MiDWaN had to come to Stockholm, where I live, to fix some papers. I don't remember, you had an errand there with MiDWaN.
Yep.
We were so happy because we set up both Amigas and connected them via the new modem and started playing and started experimenting, and it was amazing. And my girlfriend told me, "Hey, you were like kids, You were so happy."
So true.
That's an amazing feeling.
Fantastic. Well, lads, thank you so much for agreeing to meet us together in cold Sweden. I don't think we can promise you much better weather when you come over here to Ireland, I'm afraid.
Well, we're used to it, don't worry.
Don't worry.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for offering your services. I'm really looking forward to meeting you. And
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll be in touch anyway before
it's
then.
Really
but yeah, it's going to be great.
Absolutely, it's been an honor.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep, really looking forward.
And keep it up with those podcasts. I mean, it's really like reading a magazine at the same time as I used to listen to them while working. It really fills up my day.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to hear that.
Thanks, guys, for your kind words.
Okay, and to everybody listening, thank you for staying with us, and we'll be back in a few weeks' time with the next episode of the Amiga Ireland podcast. So bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You mean some people were listening?